Ms. Roots will start the opening statements.
Good evening. Thank you to Grassroots America and Joanne for hosting, and thank all of you for being here and being involved in the political process. I appreciate it. My name is Catherine Roots. I'm running to be your next county commissioner for Precinct 2. I look forward to answering your questions this evening, and I look forward to getting to know each of you better. Thank you.
Howdy, my name is Austin Luce, and I'm a Christian conservative businessman running to represent you. Now, I haven't seen most of y'all since December, so I can still say Happy New Year. I hope that your New Year's resolutions for dieting and exercising and reading the Bible in a year are still going well. Now, I kept my New Year's resolutions very simple this year: to earn your vote and to defeat the Democrats together in November. The most important thing to know about me isn't about me at all, it's about him. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Christ is king, he's seated on the throne, and it doesn't really matter when you put it in that perspective who's in political office. My wife Shelby is here joining me tonight. Her maiden name is Goforth. You may remember the late C.W. Goforth, her grandfather, and they're a very deeply rooted family in Chapel Hill and Tyler. We welcomed our first child, Gemma Grace, into our home last November. Our daughter is a fourth-generation Tylerite, a 10th-generation Texan, and my number one motivation to run for this office. I have family members that have served in the early days of the Texas Rangers, aboard the USS Texas, and at Carswell Air Force Base. Growing up, I was taught to step in and help out when you see a need. My passion for serving others has guided me in the Texas State Guard, where I've been deployed to the border. It's guided me in executive positions with nonprofits, where I've overseen multi-million-dollar budgets. And it's guided me in running my real estate business right here in Smith County, where I fought the appraisal district and won, negotiating contracts and managing multi-million-dollar infrastructure. Our county has cost overruns, budget challenges, and roads that are going to Hades in a handbasket. My background has prepared me to be a good steward of your tax dollars, balance budgets, and get our county roads on the right track. I'm staying true to the way I was raised. I see a need in Smith County, which is why I'm stepping forward to serve. It would be an honor to earn your vote and work for you.
Okay, candidates. First question goes, the same questions will go to both candidates, and we will be alternating who receives the question first. So this first question goes to Mr. Luce. Describe your worldview, the values and principles that guide your decision-making, and you'll have 1 minute to answer this one.
So I believe in the principles of life, liberty, and property. Some people will call themselves constitutional conservatives. I call myself a philosophical conservative because the Constitution was written to preserve those principles of life, liberty, and property. And if the liberals get their way and they're able to change the Constitution, what the Constitution says, I'll still be a philosophical conservative because I believe in the principles of life, liberty, and property. I believe that as individuals, we've signed a social contract with our government and that we've given up our autonomy as individuals because we believe the government is going to provide services like public safety and good roads. And as a county commissioner, I will honor that commitment.
Ms. Roots, the same question. The values and principles that guide your decision-making.
Well, my main center and value is that I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and the Bible, and that its word is infallible. That's what guides me day in and day out. I am very conservative. Some would say I made Rush Limbaugh look liberal, but I believe in the people and the power of the people and that we work for the people and that we're driven by the taxpayers, and that is what I promise to do in this position. I'm not a ribbon cutter. I'm not a yes man. I'm here for the people and the taxpayer.
Thank you, Ms. Roots. This is your question first. Do you believe the Smith County Commissioners Court is citizen first? Why or why not? 1 minute.
Well, I've been attending Commissioners Court now for a year, and I sat through the whole budget process. And I would say that no, I do not believe that it is citizen first. I think there's a lot of room for improvement with the Commissioners Court. The budget process was very opaque, citizen comments are cut down to what's on the agenda. I would like to see some of that change. I think you have a redress of government, and that should be happening with grievances. And so there's room for improvement there. And then there's a lot of things that seem like they go on behind closed doors and not in the transparency of the people.
Thank you. Mr. Luce?
I believe that our government needs to listen to the people more. I believe that we have a real opportunity, and that's the reason why I'm running. I think that if we want to get our county budget under control, that we need to get our county spending under control, that we need to ask more questions. I think that we need to not really take any kind of numbers or anything at face value. We need to ask good questions, have good, respectful dialogue, and that we need to make the citizens more aware of what the county is planning to do and what the county has done, and to receive more input, and that's what should be guiding the county's decisions.
Okay, Mr. Luce. From observing the county commissioners in court and in their other administrative duties, would you say that it's a full or part-time job? And there's a follow-up.
So being a commissioner is a full-time job in that you're always a commissioner. There's never a time when you're not a commissioner. And something that I have done in my career is I've been somebody who's been available on the evenings. I've been somebody who's been available on the weekends. One particular Easter Sunday, I had to respond to a shopping center that I managed because there was an active shooter situation. I got a call that there was somebody who had barricaded themselves inside a tenant's office, and there were 75 law enforcement officers, a SWAT team. They had busted out the front windows of my tenant's business, and I showed up and let the tenants know that we're there for them. We're going to get these window panes replaced. We're going to get this roof tarp. We're going to get taken care of. And that's the type of commissioner that I think Precinct 2 wants, is somebody that shows up when there's a heavy rain or a hard freeze or a tornado, and they want somebody to take care of their roads.
Ms. Roots, the same question. Is it a full or part-time job, and how would you balance your business and personal responsibilities?
Yes, it's absolutely a full-time job, and the taxpayers expect that, so that's what I'm going to do. How would I balance my life? My kid, I have a junior and a senior in high school, so this is a perfect time for me to step in and have a full-time job. My husband, Don, is in the first row, and I have the best support system. He's helped me since July when I announced my candidacy, go door to door, do all the things, and go to all the meetings, and he's held down the fort, so that is not going to be a problem for me to show up every day. I'm not a behind-the-desk commissioner. I want to be out speaking to we the people. That's who I'm working for.
Okay, Mrs. Roots, this question will go to you first. Would you be willing to vote no in open court, even if all the other commissioners and the county judge voted yes? And if you can think of an example from your observation of the commissioner's court, would you tell us what that example would be?
Yes, I can think of a couple examples. The first example, well, I would absolutely say no. Yep. That's what the taxpayers expect. I'm not in there to cause problems or blow things up, but I'm certainly in there to be the advocate for the taxpayer and the backstop for the taxpayer. So a couple of examples that come to mind. We just had a recent abatement with a hotel downtown, and I don't think we should have subsidized taxpayer hotels going in. And in regard to the budget as well, I watched the whole budget process, and that was opaque.
Thank you, Mr. Luce.
So I'd give it an example. So when I go to the commissioners' court meetings, I'll hear from a lot of department heads or elected officials, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, we know that we were budgeted this amount, but our outside vendor just increased the prices on us. So instead of $400,000, we need $500,000 because our third-party vendor just upped the prices on us. And the question I want to ask is, well, did you tell them no? Did you tell them that you're willing to walk away from the deal? Did you tell them that you're willing to hire their competitor? Did you tell them that's not good enough, send us your best and final offer?
Okay, Mr. Luce, this is 3 short yes or no questions. Have you ever declared bankruptcy?
No.
Are you current on all of your taxes?
Yes.
Is there any event in your life that would embarrass your parents, spouse, children, and pastor if it appeared on a billboard in this race? Because in Smith County politics, this has actually happened. That's a yes or no.
No.
Okay. Ms. Ruth, same questions. Have you ever declared bankruptcy?
No.
Have you, are you current on all your taxes?
Yes, sir.
And is there any event in your life that would embarrass your parents, spouse, children, and pastor if it appeared on a billboard in this race?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so now for the edification of the audience, that concludes the personal section of the questions. Then we are moving into policy and then political questions. So, Mrs. Roots, you will go first this time. In the last 2 years, the Commissioners Court has approved multiple projects in conjunction with the City of Tyler. For example, the tax increment reinvestment zones, downtown renovation, tax abatements, and management of the county square. These transferred control of millions of county taxpayer dollars. What are the guidelines or the principles in which you would commit taxpayer dollars to be transferred for city projects?
Good question. Well, first we'd have to look at it, see how it benefits people out in the county. If it doesn't benefit people out in the county, then I don't know why would we be signing that into, why would that be something we'd want to do? And then the other thing that comes to mind is we don't know where we're going to be financially 5, 10, or 15 years down the road with jail, with healthcare, with the courthouse, maintenance thereof, law enforcement. So if we don't know that, then I don't think we need to be diverting funds to anything else.
Thank you. Mr. Luce?
I believe that the county should use every tool in its toolbox in order to, or should potentially use every tool in its toolbox, and you don't use every tool every single time. But some of the things I would look for is making sure that we're not binding future courts to the decisions that we're making. I don't want past courts to be binding me. I want to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze. I want to make sure that if we're doing something, especially if it's to drive economic growth, that we're aligning ourselves with the principles of Donald Trump's America First plan. I think that our people here in Smith County are our greatest asset. We raise very fine boys and girls in our school system and at UT Tyler, TJC, Texas College, and oftentimes they leave for Dallas, Houston, and other places. And so I want to make sure that if our economic plan make sure that we're doing things that are America first. There are companies that are closing down in China, they're closing down in Mexico, and they're closing down in India, and they're moving back to the United States. And I want those companies to relocate and provide opportunities in Troop, Texas, in White House, in Tyler, and do things that are going to create generational wealth that provide good, high-paying jobs where you can raise a family. And that would be my philosophy.
Okay, next question stays with you, Mr. Luce. The last budget process was a chaotic mess. The county is now preparing to hire a replacement budget officer. If you were on the court now, what qualifications, experience, and standards would you be requiring in the new budget officer? And it's 2 minutes.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up this question because it's one of the things that's most important to me. Our fiscal responsibility is absolutely paramount. And in order to get our budgets under control, we need to get our spending under control. I think that government budgeting should look a lot more like household budgeting. So when I sit down on my kitchen table and write out a budget, I start with the income up at the top and I list all the expenses at the bottom. And our government's the only entity that has the luxury of filling out the expenses and then figuring out how much the tax is going to be. And so I think that we should start with the mindset of the no new revenue tax rate and just say, hey, here's what we collected last year. Let's work within those parameters. And that may not necessarily work every single year. I'm not going to be somebody that's going to promise that every single year this is exactly how I'm going to vote. We need to be responsive to the needs of the community and how those things change. But if we're ever going to have a no new revenue tax rate, we have to decide that that's actually what we want and to put that up at the top of the budget. So make our government budgeting look more like kitchen table budgeting. I'm a small business owner and I have the experience of going through and reviewing expenses and just saying, hey, we're going to have to cut these expenses in order to get the balanced budget. But the question that we should be asking as a county is what's going on in our households. If our households are having to tighten their budgets, then the government should be tightening its budget as well.
So follow-up, what qualifications and experience and standards would you be requesting in the hiring a new budget officer?
So I would make sure that the budget officer has experience in this particular field, and I would ask them what they've done to make tough decisions to get the expenses under control. So basically, the philosophy that I just listed out, I'd want to see if they've done that in other counties or in other cities or other places.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Roots, same question.
Well, after sitting through the last budget process with our last budget officer, there's a lot of room for improvement. First, we'd want to know if he came from an area that had the same size and population that we have, and that they're used to working with the kind of numbers that come out of the commissioner's court. And also, are they willing to give access to the commissioners when it comes to budget time? We had a problem with that with the last budget officer. She was asked multiple times to give the numbers and was keeping them from department heads, so they were left out of the process, and keeping them from commissioners, and so they were left in the dark, and then we'd go into court and have chaos. So those would be two major things that I'd want to know. And then I'd want to know how well they're going to work with the auditor, and that they have the moral fortitude to be able to say no to the commissioners and the judge when the numbers are off.
Okay, Mrs. Roots, this question will go with you first for this question, and we're going to stay on property taxes for a moment. And it's in two parts, so I'll just give you the first part. Are you familiar with the no new revenue limit on property tax increases? Are you familiar with it? Just a yes or no?
I'm sorry, say the question again, pardon me.
Are you familiar with the no new revenue tax rate, which is a limit on property tax increases? Just a yes or no. You don't have to explain it. Okay. Second part, under what circumstances would you agree to raise taxes above the no new revenue rate? 2 minutes.
I can answer that quick. I'm not okay with that. We're taxed enough. We need tax relief, not more taxes. So the county needs to be within their means, and we have plenty of revenue. This county has plenty of revenue. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem, and that's what needs to come under control.
Thank you. Mr. Liu, same thing. You're familiar with the no new revenue tax rate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And under what circumstances would you agree to raise taxes above the no new revenue rate?
So the circumstances that I would look at is what's happening in our households. You know, if the population's growing, then that's putting more stress on our county roads, and that means there's more instances where the county roads need to be maintained. As the population grows, that also puts more stress on our criminal justice system. So that may mean that the sheriff's office or the constables or the district attorney may need more staff. You know, if our population doubles, in the next 5, 10, 15 years, then we're going to see our needs grow exponentially. But real property tax relief comes from the local government spending your dollars wisely. I mentioned that I have a successful real estate business. I'm not just a licensed real estate agent. I'm also licensed with the state of Texas as a property tax consultant. So I've been trained. I do continuing education. I understand our property tax system more than a lot of the folks that are raising our property taxes right now. And that really puts a strain on first-time home buyers. So I've only owned one home, and I've owned that home in Precinct 2. I bought that home a few years ago, and it's a challenge right now for first-time home buyers. The average age of a first-time home buyer right now is 40 years old. 40 years old. That is not sustainable. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's inflation, there's supply chain issues that are caused by the scamdemic, high interest rates, but this affordability crisis is not sustainable. Now, Charlie Kirk was asked, before he was tragically murdered, he was asked about the rise of Zoran Mondani. I think many of y'all have heard of Zoran Mondani before, and his rise of socialism. And he said that this should be a wake-up call for the Republican Party, that affordability affordability is an issue, and that the coming generations just can't afford to live. And we have great hope because there's now more young people, especially young men, who are identifying as conservative Republicans, and they're demanding some really big changes. And so if we're going to make housing more affordable, then we have to make property taxes go down, and we do that through cutting our spending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, staying with you, Mr. Luce. Recently, the county engineer projected a $35 million funding shortfall to complete Phase 2 of the county road bond program. If you were on the court, what would your reaction have been to this announcement, and what would your follow-up action be? 2 minutes.
So I appreciate the work that Grassroots America has done, especially, I know you've done a lot of the heavy lifting on it, Mr. Fabry, and we all have a lot more questions than answers right now, and so we absolutely need an audit. I mean, my reaction would be that we need that audit now, whether that is a subject matter expert or a forensic audit. I'm not sure, but we need to understand what's going on because there's a big disconnect here. I've served in the Texas State Guard for the past 6 years. I've had paternity leave for the last couple months, so I've been able to grow out the beard, but I'll shave before the election again. And within the Texas State Guard, we do what's called an AAR, an after action report, where we assess what we did well, what we didn't do well, that way we can plan for the future. And whatever happened with the county roads after the 2017 and the 2021 road bonds, we need to understand where the problems were. That way we can plan properly for the future, because the issues with our county roads aren't going away. We can fix every single road tomorrow, and we're going to have some more issues down the road. So we need to understand what we did well, and we especially need to understand what we didn't do well. That way we can let people know what's going on. What we really need is a comprehensive plan. So when I started my real estate business, my revenue was zero, and I had to work at Domino's full-time delivering pizzas. And we had the Domino's pizza tracker, where you could see when your pizza's in the oven and when it was being cut and when it was being delivered. We need a comprehensive plan, and we need lifetime updates where people can see it, which roads are actually being planned, which roads are under construction, which roads have been completed. And when we have more transparency, then we're going to build more trust with the public.
Thank you. Ms. Roots, same question. If you were on the board when that $35 million shortfall was announced, what would your reaction have been to that announcement, and what would you be recommending happen next?
Well, our county motto is striving for excellence, and I don't think that's happening with our roads. So we need to do a forensic audit for sure and check the numbers, where the $7 million went, why this has ballooned out of control. We haven't rated the roads in 10 years. That's something that needs to happen as well. So there needs to be a deep, hard look at what's going on with the county roads instead of continuing to give them money when they're not giving us the best service for the best price.
Okay. We will start with you, Ms. Roots, for question number 10. Road and Bridge reports show a $7 million discrepancy in Phase 1 bond summary financial reports and the backup project reports. What steps or programs would you implement to prevent future problems like this? And be as specific as you can be. 2 minutes.
Well, I think we need to put checks and balances into place. We're a unit road system, but we don't have enough oversight with what's going on. So that's one thing that we need to happen. I believe that the commissioners in their precincts should be keeping a better eye and oversight on their precinct roads and getting regular check-ins with the Road and Bridge and having them come to court and tell us what they're doing, what they have completed, what they have not completed, where the money is being spent, and where the problems are. They promised that this was going to be, services were to be delivered on Phase 1 and Phase 2. We've gone into Phase 2 now, and we're still working on through Phase 1. So there's a lot of oversight that needs to be done in that, in standard operating practices that need to be put into position.
Thank you, Mr. Luce.
What we need is strong leadership. We need people we need commissioners who are involved, that are working off of a comprehensive plan, and that we are making people aware of where we're at with the plan. I mean, folks want to know that there's a plan, and they want to get live updates on that. We have a saying here in East Texas that the best fertilizer is the farmer's footsteps. And I'll be active. I'll be traveling a different county road every single day, and I'll be providing my own assessment where we look at roads that people are asking to be repaired. I'll travel to roads that were recently repaired and see how they're holding up. I'll travel the roads after a storm and making sure that we're keeping a real close eye on it. And to be even more specific, we need a good audit. I mean, any business, any nonprofit, any entity that trusts people does audits because they trust people. It keeps honest men honest, and it helps us to understand where our shortfalls are, and then we're able to make a plan from there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Luce, there are recent instances in which the City of Tyler approved development standards in the extended territorial jurisdiction that are in violation of county development standards. When it comes to situations in which the county and city standards are in conflict, what would be your guiding principle in resolving these conflicts?
So I'm against any action from the county that creates de facto zoning laws where the county comes in and tells you as a private property owner how you're going to use your land. Like I said, I'm a conservative because I believe in the principles of life, liberty, and property. Property is extremely important to me, and I think that folks should be able to use their property however they see fit. And so the guiding principle when there's a conflict here is what is going to give the most freedom to that property owner.
Thank you. Ms. Roots, same question. Let me repeat it.
Please, that would be
Okay.
great.
There are recent instances in which the City of Tyler approved development standards in the ETJ, the Extended Extraterritorial Jurisdiction, that are in violation of county development standards. When it comes to situations in which the city and county standards are in conflict, what would be your guiding principle in resolving these conflicts?
Well, I think it's important to talk to both sides and see, where the conflict lies. But if it's not in line with what the county is doing and it's county dollars and county land, then the county needs to come out ahead of that one and take care of it, and the city needs to back off. So I would just make sure that we're doing what's best for the taxpayer and what's best for the county.
Okay, I'm just going to tell both of you this. You need to look deeper into that situation there in the ETJ because it has everything to do with who's going to maintain those streets in those developments. The ETJ is kind of like Never Never Land. And so that's not been annexed by the City of Tyler. So I would just like for y'all to think through that a little bit more because of the knowledge you've already displayed that you have about the condition of the county roads. Okay, enough of that. So, Ms. Roots, what is your opinion of the county's 5-year strategic plan? What actions would you take to force the court to develop such a plan? And what role should citizens have in that plan? 2 minutes.
Can I ask, are we talking about the roadmap plan or New Horizon plan?
This is, it's...
Similar?
No, not really. There is the roadmap plan, which is supposed to be the template, the philosophy over which everything else falls under this philosophy of excellence. Okay, the county's 5-year strategic plan allegedly is about the forward thinking of how the county is going to develop its infrastructure, whether it be the IT structure, the capital improvements to buildings, new buildings, that sort of thing. So you don't need to know the ingredients of the plan. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for, do you believe that the actions of the court have been citizen first in the way that plan was developed? do you believe that that plan is transparent enough? And if not, how would you do it differently? And do you believe that citizens should play a role in it?
Okay, great. Thank you
That's
so
what we're
much
looking
So the citizens first, we're not first in that. We still don't know what maintenance is going to be with the courthouses. We know that we need to bring more security in, double the cleaning staff. And so in regard to the courthouse, there's a lot more questions than answers. And I would say that that was straight across on many of the things that the county is doing. It's not transparent. The people are not included in it. We don't know what the actual interest rate and debt combined is. So those are things that we need to look at, whether that's an audit, whether we put standard operating procedures into place that we do not have. That seems to be something that's very loose with the county. So those are some of the ways that I would address that.
Okay, Mr. Lees.
Without vision, my people fail. That's straight from the good book. We need to have a vision, we need to have a plan, and folks need to be included in that. One of the ways that I'll incorporate bringing citizens into the planning is through meeting with citizens monthly, doing a town hall of sorts. I'm kind of a casual guy. I mean, despite the fact I'm wearing a suit right now, dressed up nice for y'all. But I'm a casual guy, so doing a meeting in a casual environment, like a coffee with the commissioner, town hall, and just learning what folks are experiencing in the county, out on the county roads, out in the rural areas, in the middle of the city. Rather than just assuming that we know what the challenges are, I think it is going to be extremely important. You shouldn't have to use ChatGPT to ask what's going on with Smith County or to find a plan. You should be able to access that, pretty easily. And I think that it's pretty hard to get information about what's going on in the county just as just a regular, private citizen. So I think that just including people in the process and making information more readily available is going to be extremely important.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Luce. The county recently approved a $1 million investment in an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning software system. From information publicly available, what was your opinion of the process to get to the commissioners voting on that, the timing and the rationale of their decision? 2 minutes.
Now, this one was fairly recently, right? Just, a month or two ago. My impression was that it was fairly rushed, that it was just hey, here's this proposal, you have to vote on it now kind of deal. And so I think that anytime that we have major spending, whenever there's a budget, really we should have transparency on any issue, but especially when it's extremely important, like we're spending money, we should slow it down and have time to invite the public to give their input and vote on it soon enough that if we have to table it and revisit it, that we're able to, not just we can't table it because we have to do this by, next Friday kind of deal. And so I think that when we know that there's something big coming up, that we need to slow our roll a little bit and give ourselves enough breathing room that we can ask good questions, that we can get good input, and we can table it once or twice or three times if we need to in order to find some other alternatives.
Thank you. Ms. Roots, same question?
Ask the question again, please.
Yes. The county recently approved a $1 million investment in a new enterprise resource planning software system. From information publicly available, what was your opinion of the process to get to that vote, the timing and the rationale of the court's decision? 2 minutes.
Thank you. So yes, I was in the court for that, and one of the things that I noticed was that this is not removing the systems that are already in place. So we are still paying for those while this new system comes into place as well. The process felt very rushed with the auditor. It felt like it was being pushed through with the auditor, and the commissioners didn't have all the information that they needed, nor did they have the numbers that they need. So I feel like that needs to be more checks and balances with that, and that we need more information in the commissioner's court and line by line information on what the cost is in conjunction with what we're already paying for the other processes and software that we have.
Okay. Mrs. Roots, we're going to talk about the courthouse a few minutes now. The new courthouse will be completed at about this time the new commissioners will be sworn in. You will have the responsibility for funding and operating the building without being part of the original decision-making process. What are your concerns with operating this much larger courthouse facility, and what steps would you recommend to ensure a smooth transition? 2 minutes.
I'm not sure there's going to be a smooth transition into the courthouse. In the budget process, we didn't look into the unknowns of the operational costs. It could take an additional $4 to $5 million to run that courthouse. We know that we don't have enough maintenance, we don't have enough security, we don't have enough cleaning staff to run it. We don't have groundskeepers to run it. We have one groundskeeper currently. So those are all question marks in the budget that we need to look into and see how we miss that and budget for it in the future. It's 270,000 square feet, and that's a lot to run. We've added to it in the last during the commissioners' court, they decided to do the 5th floor, so that added expense to it that we weren't expecting as well. So it's back to the standard operating procedures. We need to know that why we missed those things the first time around and make sure that that doesn't continue to happen and rise the costs for the taxpayer.
Mr. Luce?
Our county was very badly, and still is very badly in need of a county courthouse. The existing courthouse was built many moons ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 1950. So I guess, yeah, that's been about 76 years, I believe. It was built originally with 2 courtrooms and has 8 courtrooms. Security challenges are a major issue. It's something that many people in our judicial system asked for, and so I'm glad that we're doing a county courthouse. I think that having conversations with the district attorney, having conversations with the sheriff and the rest of the law enforcement community is going to be important to understand what needs that they're going to have ongoing. Some of those needs are going to be things like staffing, security, and utilities. In some ways, we're already paying for those things. It is a much larger facility, and so those costs will grow. And we're just going to need to make sure that we really get our arms around it before we commit to doing too much spending elsewhere. That way, we're able to see where we're growing from our existing costs to the new costs. And I think that being open to the possibilities, open to alternatives is going to be important as we look to take on these additional burdens.
Okay.
Mr. Luce, back to you. Over the last year, the direction of the Animal Control Department and its downtown facility has been hotly debated, and lots of money spent on studies about what should and where it should happen. What is your assessment of A, how the county got to this situation, and B, the current solution being implemented, and your opinion of the current solution that's being implemented?
I think that we got to this situation because it wasn't a priority. And, I'm going to say something that doesn't sound very nice or may not be very politically correct, but out in the country, animals get euthanized. That's what happens to strays. And so I think rather than building big, new, multi-million-dollar facilities to house more strays, that we need to work with local nonprofits that will take in animals, that will the no-kill shelters that send animals up north where they need more stray animals to be adopted. That to the extent that we can work with those nonprofits, let's work with those nonprofits. And if we don't have enough room, then the animals that aren't getting adopted need to be euthanized.
Thank you. Ms. Roots?
So I recently went into the animal shelter and spoke to Holly, who's the new animal shelter coordinator, and she has infinite knowledge in animal control, and so she's working with all of the rescues. She had a job doing that. She worked with Angel Paws and SPCA, and so I'm very excited and very optimistic about her taking that over. We actually euthanize very few animals in Smith County, and so I think there needs to be some rebranding that's done with the animal shelter. I think that people have a misconception of what's going on there, and so I'm looking forward to what she has coming out with social media. We talked about that. We talked about her getting back into using TJC football players to come and run the dogs. I'm excited about the new green space that's going to come. The money that the court had originally planned, the $7 million plus, I believe, to put in a new shelter would have been a major burden to the taxpayer, but we are in the animal control business whether we like it or not, and God gave us stewardship over the animals, and we need to be taking care of them, and that we have them in a facility where adoption is happening more readily, where it's easier to clean, where the animals are not in small kennels and not being able to go into green space so that they're hyper when people come to visit them, and that makes them look less adoptable. So I'm encouraged with what's happening there now, and I just hope that that can continue.
Thank you.
Okay, now we start the section on political questions. Ms. Roots, we'll start with you on question 16. Name at least one legal exemption to the Texas Open Meetings Act. What would you do if you were in an executive closed session and your colleagues began to break that law? What would you do? So that's a two-part question, and it's 2 minutes. So can you name just one exemption? In other words, the Open Meetings Act is to ensure that the people know what's going on. So there are a list of a few items that can lawfully be discussed in a closed session. Can you name one of those exemptions?
That can be lawfully discussed. County lawsuits would be one of those that could be discussed in the open.
Okay. So what would you do if you were in an executive closed session and your colleagues began to break the act? What specific actions would you take?
I'd speak up and say that we're not supposed to be speaking about this, that's not how this is supposed to run, and I would expect the county judge would shut it down. That's what I would expect.
Okay, and if they didn't stop, what would you do next?
I would I would walk out of the meeting and go and talk to HR and make sure that we get this in control, and then make any phone calls that I need to make to set those actions correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Luce?
So in my observations with Smith County, they'll go into executive session on hiring and personnel issues, lawsuits, real estate transactions. There's a number of things that cause the county to go into executive session. And if a member of the Commissioner's Court was breaking those laws, I wouldn't expect the county judge to do it. I would take that leadership and just say, this is inappropriate for us to discuss. It's unlawful, and we need to move on to another topic.
Okay, thank you.
If elected, what would your top 3 priorities be for your first year on the job, Mr. Luce? 2 minutes.
So my top 3 priorities, number 1 is public safety. As I mentioned before, I'm a philosophical conservative. Life, liberty, and property are my driving principles. And life is the most important of those 3, because if you don't have your livelihood, if you're dead, it doesn't really matter how good of a job the government's doing at protecting liberty and property. So life is number 1. We need to listen to those that put a badge on their chest and to step into harm's way, and they'll tell us what they need in order to do their jobs effectively. So I support our law enforcement 100%, and I believe that we should listen to them and give them the resources that they need in order to do their jobs effectively. The second is, the second one's kind of 2, but it's 2 sides of the same coin, and that's spending in our budgets. So, actually, three sides of the coin because it's also taxes. So, your taxes are determined by your budgets, and your budgets are determined by your spending. And I believe that the county would benefit very much from a businessman's perspective that's able to say, no, we're not able to do that. We've got to cut our spending in order to balance the budget and keep our taxes low. So spending, budgets, taxes all kind of follow under that same one. And then, and then the other one would be our county roads. And that's comes from, as I mentioned before, the best fertilizer is the farmer's footsteps. So that's going to be being in the community, driving a different county road every day, responding when there are challenges, responding in person. If a property owner has a problem with the road, show up in person, shake their hand, look them in the eye, give them your name, give them your cell phone number, and most importantly, get the job done.
Mrs. Roots, same question.
So I would like to help facilitate better performance measure reporting so that we're getting the best service for the best price in the county. I would like to be more accessible to the public. I've knocked on many doors and have heard over and over that first, we don't know what a county commissioner does, and we don't know who our county commissioner is, and I aim to change that. And I've been doing that since I entered this race in July, through going to multiple meetings throughout ARP, Troop, Chapel Hill, White House, Tyler, and meeting with the people, meeting with law enforcement, and hearing firsthand what they're needing help with, city mayors and what's going on in their cities. And then also to respect the taxpayer and be responsible with the spending, not to just be a yes person and go along to get along. The taxpayer deserves a backstop, and I intend to be that person.
Okay, Mrs. Roots, let's talk about the Capital Improvement Committee. The Capital Improvement Committee consists of the judge and several department heads. They meet in secret, and there are no commissioners. What role, if any, should the commissioners play in this process that prioritizes capital expenditures?
Well, I think that we need to drag that out into the sunshine, and it should not be a closed door. The judge and the commissioners have the same amount of responsibility to the taxpayer, and so we need to know those numbers. We need to know what's been talked about. We need to know what the planning is with the capital improvement and where we're getting the money from, and we need to make sure that the taxpayers know that as well. Meeting in secret is not transparency.
Okay, Mr. Luce?
I think that the biggest breakdown of trust is a lack of transparency, and if people don't know what's going on behind closed doors, that there is going to be a natural tendency for there to be mistrust. So this is an area where I believe that there should be more people involved. Commissioners should be brought into these discussions, and if it's not something that's of a completely private matter, like what would need to happen in an executive session, that we should have those in open meetings. And if it is something that's a private matter along the lines of a hiring decision or a real estate decision or a lawsuit decision, then we can have those conversations in executive session.
Thank you.
Okay, let's switch to human resource policy. Assuming that the salary charts for the county are aligned with market forces, so making that assumption, should salary increases for county employees be across-the-board raises or merit-based compensation? 2 minutes, your philosophy on salary administration.
I believe in merit-based hiring, and I believe in merit-based raises. I've spent my entire career in the private sector, hiring people, firing people, training people, and I've never given an across-the-board kind of raise to anyone, and so I believe in merit-based hiring, firing, and management practices.
Mrs. Roots, same question.
Yes, I believe that it should be merit-based, of course. You have to prove that you can do the job and that you're worthy of getting a raise instead of it just being straight across the board. I know that during the budget cycle, we had some departments that did not come before the court, and then they asked for a raise behind the scenes, and they were rewarded for it. And I don't think that that's the proper way to do county business for the taxpayer.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Roots, how many registered voters are in your precinct? What's your target number to get out to vote?
5,500 to get out the vote.
Okay. So how many votes do you think it'll take to win?
I'm going for all 5,500 votes.
Okay.
Go big or go home.
What actions are you taking to get enough votes to win?
So I've been knocking on doors since July. I've gone to, it feels like all of the meetings that Smith County has had. I've gone and talked to city councils, been to the Troop City Councils, been to the planning meetings, been to the ISD meetings. I've talked to the law enforcement in several areas, and then just out being amongst the citizens and talking to them, going to parades, and if they had Christmas time things, we were there for all of that. So I'm here for the citizen, and I enjoy getting out and hearing what's going on, and I want to be citizen first oriented. They matter.
Mr. Luce.
So in the most recent election, when John Moore ran against Mike Adams and Anwar Khalifa, there were about 7,000 people that voted. So I would assume that it's going to be a fairly similar number to turn out. So you need 51% to win. So, just call it 4,000 just to play it safe. I believe that the registered voters is about twice that number. And as far as what I'm doing to prepare to win, I've spent the past decade being highly involved in the community. I saw a need for young people to be involved in the political process, so I started the Young Republicans. I chaired the Tyler Young Professionals. I've worked with several different charitable organizations, so I've been an active participant in the community. I'm not just offering political solutions, but I know the community quite well. I'm knocking on doors. I'm going to events. I'm putting my signs out there. I've got a website that I think is easy to remember. It's voteloose.com, and that's what I'm working on.
Okay, so you guys have done so well in answering questions. We haven't had to redirect you. That you now get to ask. You now get to answer a few other questions because I can come up with questions just sitting here. So. This one, we'll start with you, Mr. Luce, and it's 2 minutes. Pretend you are actually commissioner. You have taken your oath of office. You receive a 350-page budget packet made up of budget requests from every department head that answers to your commissioner's court and every elected official. Tell us your first 3 steps to gain an understanding of what is contained in that 350-page budget packet and how you translate that into a good action on behalf of the people of Smith County.
Well, my first step would to make a pot of coffee and then sit down and start to read through it. My second step after starting to get my arms around it is to identify who it is that's making these requests and to visit with them and to understand what and ask them and some really good questions and ask them, well, what does it take to do your job most effectively? Ask them questions like, let's say that you don't get everything that you need in this budget request. What is the number one thing that you just can't do without? If we've got to find a cut somewhere, what is the least important thing? And just ask questions, find out what it takes to do their job effectively. find out what our surrounding counties are doing, and not just necessarily our surrounding counties, because some of the counties are quite a bit smaller than ours, but asking peer counties, counties like Brazos County that has a pretty similar size, population and geographic span. And so those will be my 3 steps, is to actually read the budget, to talk to the folks that are requesting this budget and find out, what it takes for them to do their job effectively, and then also to look at other counties and see if there are some alternatives that maybe we're missing here.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Roots?
So first, I'd want to do a line-by-line review. I'd want to look at the historical trends from the last several years and see where we've moved it, as far as the numbers go. And then the departments need to justify spending more money. We need to see how they manage their money during the last fiscal year, and not just move ahead with adding 5, 10, or 15% to their budget. There's many places that we could go to zero-based budgeting with the budget. We can't do that with everything. Obviously, IT has contracts, and there's other areas that wouldn't work, but that would make it much easier to start over from zero and work our way from there.
Okay. Mr. Fabry?
Staying on that same subject, as you attend the court meetings and you hear the departmental reviews each month, departments give updates on what's going on from their departments. As you sit through the budget presentations and the department heads or other elected officials tell you what a tough job they're doing and how hard they're working, one of the things that is almost never discussed is A, I'm following my business plan, and B, here are my performance metrics that I'm exceeding and therefore deserve more money to do the job. So from your perspective, sitting as you were just sitting in the chair right now, Commissioner's chair, what would your position be on demanding departmental business plans and measurable metrics to evaluate their performance? Mr. Lucian. 2 minutes.
We've always done it this way. Any organization, whether that's a business, a government, or a nonprofit that says we've always done it this way, is doomed to fail. So we can't just look at the way we've always done things. We have to look at alternatives and make sure that we're doing things most effectively. And so when somebody's asking the county to spend money on something, we have to make sure that it's a reasonable request, that they have objective measures, and they have to be held accountable on whether or not they're hitting those objective measures. We have a lot of opportunities to get spending under control, and I think that that's by just bringing some good business sense to the county, and with the department heads that will be, particularly the department heads that are going to be under my realm of control, because each commissioner will kind of specifically oversee a few different department heads, and that rotates. I'm going to discuss negotiating with them. I'm going to ask them, if you're spending money with a third party outside the county, are you getting multiple bids? Are you telling them that price isn't good enough, you need to send us your best and final? I have a real estate background. When somebody puts a price out there, you expect somebody to give a lowball offer, and you expect a counter, you expect to meet in the middle. You wouldn't ever pay sticker price for a car. And we need to have some good old-fashioned negotiating training with the people in our county government that are spending our money.
Mrs. Root, same question.
So once again, line-by-line items, having the departments come in and justify what their spending looks like, if they were giving the best service for the best price? Are we protecting the taxpayer? Do we have blind trust or oversight? And I believe that every department head needs to come before the Commissioners Court, and we need to start this process so much earlier than what we normally do. I believe we started this process in April last year, and there's just not enough time for the department heads to come in and go over their budget and then go through the numbers and justify. I also believe that the commissioners and the judge should bring citizens in and the department heads, and we discuss what the needs are from the get to keep everything running in the county before we start asking for extras for the different departments.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Roots, and I think that you both can probably do this in 1 minute. So define due diligence. What is the due diligence process?
The definition of that for me would be to do all of your homework, make sure that you're asking the right questions, talking to the right departments, looking through historical numbers, looking through the trends, and spending time asking the right questions with the right people, and doing the work, to put the work in to get the right answers.
Okay, Mr. Luce?
Due diligence is something that I do every single day. I'm in real estate, and when you get a property under contract, that's when your option period or your due diligence period begins, and that's when you set out to find out what you don't know. So it's research, it's asking good old-fashioned questions. I think that a commissioner should never be afraid to ask a quote-unquote stupid question. You should be asking so many questions that you just start to uncover things that you don't know. And when you sort of have that beginner's mindset, then you're able to open yourself up to new possibilities, open yourself up to new alternatives, and find better ways of doing things that benefit the taxpayer.
Okay, so a follow-up, a minute each on this. So let's apply due diligence to purchasing property. So you're a county commissioner, and the court, somebody on the court has a bright idea, or somebody in the community has a bright idea. The commissioner's court needs to buy some property. Tell me what the due diligence process you would run through before you could reach a conclusion that that was a good idea.
So if you're trying to sell somebody something, you're supposed to create a need. You know, it's like the classic salesman technique, where they say, sell me a pen, and the salesman says, all right, write this down for me. Oh, they don't have a pen. You just created a need. So does the county have a need? I would say that would be the number one process within the due diligence. Is just because there's an opportunity. I mean, there will be lots of opportunities to buy more land. You drive north, south, east, or west in Smith County, you're going to find some land. And so just because there's an opportunity doesn't mean that we need to jump all over that. If the county has a need for property, then yeah, let's look at and see what there are. But just because there's an opportunity to buy property doesn't mean that we need to be spending money just because we've got some cash burning a hole in our pocket.
Okay. Can you follow that on out? Can you tell me what you do next after that?
So if there's a need, then I think that we want to make it as transparent as possible, and that we put a public notice out that we're looking for some property, and pull together some options. Everything doesn't have to be in downtown Tyler. I do think that it makes sense for a lot of the services that are similar to be nearby. But we've got the Cotton Belt building, and we've got our road and bridge, and we've got some other services that are elsewhere. And so it just needs to be something where it's transparent. And if the county is going to be spending money with a private party, that lots of different potential private parties need to be aware of that process in order to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck and not just choosing a buddy to have a good payday.
Okay, thanks. And Mrs. Roots, the same question. So somebody has a bright idea that the county needs to buy some property. What would be your due diligence steps? And I think I gave Mr. Luce 2 minutes, bifurcated 2 minutes. So you go with 2 minutes.
Okay, so first I'd want to know if we've read the contract. And do we need the property? Do we have property in the county that could be used for whatever the plan is already? So did we need to put that money into there? Did we do appraisals and did we do surveys? These are things that I think would also be part of the due diligence. And can we afford it? Is this something that is in the benefit of the taxpayer?
Okay, thank you. Do you have a question?
Going back to the HR issues, assuming you don't have budget constraints, and I know that's a fairy tale, but for purposes of discussion this afternoon, there are a great number of needs that the county has for expertise in various areas to push its model forward about excellence. If you had the pixie dust to sprinkle on this, what two positions would you recommend the county hire to advance its ability to meet today's needs? Two positions, two hires, excuse me.
How many minutes?
1 minute.
1 minute.
Well, I'm just going to say what needs to be saying. We need an auditor that's like has her feet underneath her, or he or she has her feet underneath her. So that would be one position that I think we need to do a better job of putting into place. We've seemed to have somebody in that position that doesn't always ask the right questions and doesn't seem to do their due diligence at all times. And then the other one would be a budget officer that actually understands a county this size and where our money is, and knows how to do the budget correctly and answer the questions of the taxpayer.
Thank you. Mr. Luce, what two positions would you hire if you had the funding?
I don't think that we need to hire anyone else. I think that the folks that we have now, I don't believe in expanding our government into new departments and new programs. As far as adding manpower to the existing departments, I'd say our judicial is probably where we're going to need the most help. I'd say having more law enforcement officers in our community in all parts of the county is going to be important. And once you arrest the bad guys, you also have to make sure that they swiftly see justice. So I think that the district attorney's office could use some more help. And so I would say if we're hiring more people, it should be in the judicial system, but I don't believe in creating any new departments or programs. I believe in a more limited government.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Luce, what are the top considerations in improving a road?
The top
2 minutes.
The top considerations in improvement in a road are, is there a need for the road? I mean, and I think that we need to have a thorough examination of the roads. The last rating system for the roads occurred back in 2015 with an Atkins engineering study. That's been over a decade now. So the very first road that got taken care of from that study is probably in need of some maintenance right now. And so we're going off of old data. So I'd say that we need to just have a thorough, fair, comprehensive plan. And we need to make people aware of that plan. That way they know that we have a plan and that they know where we're at in that process.
Mrs. Roots.
Do you mind asking the question once again, please?
Yes. What are the top considerations when you set upon improving a road? What are some things you have to think of?
Can we afford it? Do we have the materials for it? We need to have documentation of what's been done. We need to make sure that we're paying and taking care of the roads that we already have before starting new roads. And I would say that, Smith County has 1,200 miles of county roads, and we need to do a better job with our unit system of making sure that the materials hold up long-term and that we're girding them up so that they're not falling apart. We're spending the kind of money that our roads should be lasting for 10 to 20 years, and that's not happening.
Okay, thank you. And you, Okay, it's time for rebuttals, they tell me, because I could absolutely do this all night, but it's time for rebuttals. So Tom's going to
Okay.
tell you about that.
Okay, based on the draw, rebuttals, you have 2 minutes to discuss anything that your opponent said or you said that you want to elaborate on. Now, we've covered a lot of ground on a lot of different subjects, so the rebuttal period is to focus on any of those 25 or 6 questions that you've already received. And based on the draw, Mr. Luce, you're first.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity because there are a few things I really wanted to highlight. Like I said, spending is something that we absolutely need to get under control so that we can get our budgets under control, so that we can get our taxes under control. The county went $6 million over budget on health care last year, and I think that that's just completely unacceptable. By big government logic, that means that next year's budget needs to be $6 million higher or more because we just created a new high water mark. Meanwhile, Upshur County was able to get their health care costs down by 1/3 of their costs and boosted employee satisfaction because they changed their insurance companies. They worked with an insurance company that's more revenue transparent. And we need some 21st century solutions to our healthcare challenges. Wichita County recently made some big changes. San Antonio ISD is doing the same. And so we need to get our healthcare costs under control. And so that's one of the biggest areas. Another topic that we didn't talk about tonight is ICE with the county's task force model. I absolutely support the sheriff's office, any constable's office that wants to participate, any law enforcement agency in our community to partner with ICE because our republic is built on law and order. And if we pick and choose which laws that we're going to enforce, then our republic starts to crumble. So those are two of the things that I was hoping that we'd be able to talk about tonight that I was able to address a little bit more in detail. As far as rebuttals, there isn't a whole lot that I can think of with my opponent that I disagree with because I think that we both have pretty similar conservative Republican philosophies. I would say that the biggest difference between the two of us is that, is talking the talk and walking the walk. And I have a strong background of doing the types of things that I'm talking about where I've shown some proven results.
Ms. Roots, your 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Well, I don't have a lot to rebuttal, but I think there's a misnomer that I may just be a housewife or I have no business background. I started in the salon industry at 15 years old, and I built that business up to a point where I was running other people's businesses, their salon and spas. I went over the bookkeeping. I was in charge of hiring and firing. I was over inventory. I was over my own clientele and managing the day in and day out so those businesses would be successful. And I was in that business for almost 20 years, and I was quite successful at it. I was also a manufacturer's rep, so I went around the states and top product lines and sold product. So I do have some business background, and I understand how budgets work, how inventory works, how hiring and firing works. And if you've ever worked in the salon industry, you certainly understand big personalities. And I'm not scared to take any of that on or put the hard work in.
Okay, candidates, covered a lot of ground. You have now 1 minute for closing comments, and based on the draw, Mr. Luce, you're number 1. You're first.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. What you've heard tonight is a discussion between two Republicans with similar philosophies. The biggest difference is how our backgrounds have prepared us for the role. I'm more than an advocate for low taxes. I have a proven track record of cutting people's taxes. I'm more than an advocate for safe communities. I've put on a uniform and done my part. I'm more than an advocate for maintaining infrastructure. I have managed multi-million-dollar properties and have risen to the occasion when the unexpected happened. Good governance is a show me, don't tell me business. So I'm happy to show you appraisals from last year right here in Smith County, where I reduced appraisals from $5.9 million to $3.5 million, from $1.5 million to $800,000, from $1.4 million to from $1.7 million to $1.4 million. Now that's a lot of money where I come from. You deserve a commissioner that has the business acumen to review financial reports and identify what's real and what isn't. It's been a pleasure visiting with y'all this evening, and it'll be an honor to serve as your next county commissioner. And I appreciate the job interview. I hope you hire me for the job. God bless you, and God bless Smith County.
Mrs. Roots, your closing statement.
So I just want to thank you all for your time and for being involved in this process. It's not easy to sit up here in the hot seat, and I appreciate your grace and the questions that you asked. I'm a leave it all on the field person. I'm not an in front of the camera person. I may not always tell you exactly what you want to hear or how you want to hear it, but I am here to be a backstop first and foremost for the taxpayer. That is why I got into this, and that's why I'm going to keep working hard on the campaign trail. I want to be collaborative, but I also want to be clear that I'm here to ask why, and I don't know where why became a problem and how we got allergic to it. But I intend to ask a lot of questions. I'm not in it to be ugly, but I am in it to, like I said, give the taxpayers a backstop. I'm not a ribbon cutter. I'm here to put the work in. I'm not a behind-the-desk commissioner. I want to come to you. I want to know what your problems are, and I want to do the best job for you. And I hope you hire me for the job on March 3rd. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidates. You've done a good job this evening. I believe you've given everybody an insight into what your values and principles are and how you apply those to the job. So thank you, and thank you for everyone coming out tonight. Now we have until 9 o'clock to visit with the candidates if you want to talk to them some more, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much.